Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment and audiobooks, ranging from bestsellers to celebrity memoirs, news, business, and self-development. Every month, members get 1 credit to pick any title, plus 2 Audible originals from a monthly selection, and access to daily news digests from the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post, as well as guided meditation programs. Between a full-time job in IT and a full-time job in podcasting, it gets harder and harder to sit down and read the books I'm interested in. This is where Audible comes in. I can listen on my daily commute, relaxing, or while out running errands and still get in the books I've been wanting to get into. You can download titles and listen offline anytime, anywhere. The app is free and can be installed on all smartphones and tablets. Now you can try Audible risk-free with a special 30-day free trial by visiting audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. That's audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. Don't let your busy life get in the way of that great book you've been wanting to read. Go get your free trial of Audible today. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. This is Geoffrey, and we've talked about many times before that I experience problems and struggles with my mental health, and really without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy does work. It's helped for me, but what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships at work, or you're not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's really time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles, and it's time to start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is a customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. So join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. And there's a special offer to Nerdery and Murdery listeners. You can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. That's betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. Hello there. Welcome to episode 11 of Nerdery and Murdery.
The double ones, the super ones.
You're an idiot.
Okay, in my defense, that was the advertisement for a local television station here in DFW for many, many years, out of Fort Worth, Channel 11. They are now the CBS affiliate, but they used to be a super station.
So, episode 11 of Nerdery and Murdery.
I am Zig with your nerdery today.
And I'm Geoffrey back with your murdery after our swap in episode 10. It was
Big swap.
A lot of fun. I love to, cover an obsession of mine since you generally cover all the obsessions. So
nice.
I enjoyed it.
Good.
I enjoyed it.
I did too.
Getting hungry.
Will you take a break? Go get something to eat?
No, we usually do that after our second episode of the day. I'm just, if you hear some growling of stomach, I'm just going to claim it's not me.
Tummy grumbling?
Yeah, I'm going to claim that it's Will. So blame him for it. What do you think about that, Will? Think anything about
stomach grumbling noises.
Was that your middle finger you just raised at me? Wow, what a jerk! What a jerk. We love him though.
Yes.
Go on, say it. Go on, say what you think about him.
What I think about him? Oh, that he's handsome and tasty, like a steak. Oh, you know what?
I'm so troubled by the fact that you just want to eat him up.
No.
I'm so troubled by that.
You know what we didn't do in episode 10?
What's that?
We didn't mention Keith Chenoweth. So I'm going to do it for
Oh my
episode 11.
God,
Yeah.
we didn't. Wow. Yeah, I'd send him a text and let him know that he had been name dropped in every episode so far.
In every episode.
So yeah, we didn't need that one. That's funny. So, I'm so lost here at the moment. This is an edit point.
A little discombobulated.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get back into it here. This weather is just playing all kinds of merry hob with my head and my sinuses. So have to get my head back into it. So it may be the hunger too.
Yes,
I'm hungry.
It's okay. We can take a break. We can.
No, I want to press on because I'm interested in hearing about this topic that I know nothing about.
Oh, I guarantee you know at least one of these movies.
Yeah, probably. I know so much useless knowledge that sits up in my head. I'm sure you're going to mention something. I'm going to go, oh yeah, that guy. Now I know that guy. So yeah. Other than that, I'm going to ignore my hunger for a little bit and let you get started.
Okay, we ready to go right in? Okay,
with the nerdery.
With the nerdery. Today's nerdery is about a French film director, Jean-Pierre Jeunet. I just watched one of these films last night just to refamiliarize myself with him a little bit. I've been following this guy's career since the early 90s. He hasn't done a lot, but what he has done has been very good. He's a film director, producer, and screenwriter, and his films mix elements of fantasy, realism, and science fiction, either to create idealized realities or to give relevance to mundane situations. He used to be an animator, so his movies are marked by quirky slapstick humor alongside surrealistic visuals. And when I say surrealistic, this guy does it. But he's only made 7 films in 30 years.
Okay, I'm just wildly fascinated to know who this is. I mean, you mentioned enough that I'm interested in, so...
Alien Resurrection.
Okay, all right.
That was him.
I know that one. Not my favorite, but I know that one.
He's only made 2 films in English. Everything else is in French and subtitled, or you can get it dubbed.
What are his 2 English films? Alien Resurrection.
Alien Resurrection, and the other is called The Young and Prodigious T.S. Spivet.
No clue what that is.
Yeah, well, okay. It's basically about a young boy who lost a sibling when he was young, and his parents they're very nice people, but they're really brokenhearted. And his father's a cow. He lives out in the middle of nowhere up in like Montana, and his father's a cowboy. He has a ranch, and his mother is English, played by the wonderful Helena Bonham Carter. But she's very eccentric and kind of interesting, and they're having a hard time dealing with the loss of this younger child.
So yeah, I know Alien Resurrection.
Okay, well, right on. Okay, we'll actually start a little bit before that, but we'll get to that. So, Delicatessen was his first feature film. It basically is the story of. It takes place in France. And it's in French, subtitled. I have seen a dub of this, and it's fine. I would rather watch it as subtitled because the people's voices are really interesting to me. And once you watch a subtitled film, after 5 or 10 minutes, you don't realize you're reading it.
Well, and I'm so used to I keep subtitles on everything I watch now.
Me too.
For a couple of reasons. Number one, is my hearing is not as good as it used to be. And yeah.
What?
Right.
Yeah.
And so it helps me to have those. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it gets, I've noticed that I'm reading more of the subtitles than I'm watching. Yeah. I have to kind of get away from those. But I've really, really started using them when I'm doing my research. Yeah. If I find a video, I always have the subtitles on. Well, yeah, because that those are usually, I'll see something, and especially a lot of them I've covered are foreign names. And so when I hear something I've written down, I got to stop and go, okay, how did they just pronounce that?
Yeah.
So I can put it in my notes.
Yeah, like that one episode is like, no way that's pronounced that way.
Right. The one, the Danish one.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm so used to it now. Like I said, I have it on everything. When I watch, normal TV, streaming, whatever, I have subtitles going on.
We keep them on at my house all the time anyway. Matter of fact, I had to turn them off last night when I was watching one of these movies because they were coming up over the subtitles on the movies. It's like, oh, no, turn that off. So, I imagine someone's going to be turning those back on. Who turned off the subtitles? It's also good for the kids to help them learn to read, too.
Sure.
All my kids were early readers because subtitles were always on.
For me, it was just because my grandmother forced me to read things. As we drive down the road, she would have me read signs, and she always clipped out letters from a newspaper and sent me letters.
Oh, nice.
That way. So
that's cool.
that I learned to read. And I was able to read by the time I was 3.
Oh, wow.
Because of my grandmother.
Yeah, I think I was an early reader too. I don't think I was that early, but I was reading a little bit at like 4.
And I loved it. And we like I said, we drive alongside the road, and I'm just reading all the road signs out to her, which she very, very much encouraged.
Nice. Well, that's good. Yeah, but again, that's why we put the subtitles on for the kids. Well, that and Cree is deaf in one ear. My wife, Cree Curtis. So his first movie was Delicatessen. It was released in 1991. It's essentially about, it's not quite post-apocalyptic. It's sort of during an apocalypse. They're running out of food.
Okay. So
these people live in this hotel with this little delicatessen downstairs. And the guy serves food to folks. What they don't realize is it's some of the residents in the hotel.
Soylent Green is people.
Soylent Green is people. Yeah. So what he did, he doesn't kill them himself, but what he does is he will put like little speakers up in their room and talk to them like they're an inner voice and convince them to kill themselves.
Weird.
Yeah. And the whole time this is going on, there's this group called the Troglodytes who are in the storm drains and the sewers, and you keep hearing about them on the radio about how these guys are no good, and they're up to no good. What they're actually doing is breeding frogs for people to eat. But you don't find that out until near the end. You'll see them, and every time one of them pops up, there'll be like frogs around them, and you can't figure it out. And at the very end, they're like, yes, we've been breeding frogs for people to eat.
Let's back up a minute. I'm sorry. Forgive my ignorance on this. Is Sweeney Todd English or French?
English.
Okay.
I
was just curious.
I think it's actually American.
Is it?
Yeah,
okay.
I think the production is actually American. But it's about an English subject.
I was thinking, and I guess that's where my confusion is. I'm just thinking about, another subject where a shop owner of a certain type is killing people and making food,
putting them into meat pies.
Yeah,
Mrs. Miggin's meat pies.
Right.
And you get a new tenant comes in, and he is played by the great Dominique Pignon. And you've probably seen this guy. He does a lot of science fiction stuff. He has kind of a sort of a rubbery face. He is in every single one of Jean-Pierre Jeunet's movies. So in Alien Resurrection, the guy in the wheelchair, that is Dominique Pignon.
You're going to have to say his name here.
Dominique Pignon.
Dominique Pignon. Okay, go ahead.
You getting a picture of him?
Yeah, I want to see. I'm looking up IMDb. Dominique.
With a Q, yeah.
Yeah, I figured Pin. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Dominique Pignon.
I got him.
And so he was a clown, and he had a television show with this chimp, but they ended up confiscating his chimp and basically using it for food. So he's kind of out of work and on his own, but he's really creative, and he's really kind of eccentric, and these eccentric characters keep popping up. A lot of them played by Dominique Pignon. And the whole thing kind of happens, and oh, you recognize his face now?
No, so far no. Kind of, but I laughed because he's an Outlander.
Yes, yes, he is also an Outlander.
He's an Outlander, which I tease Chelsea about because she's She loves Outlander.
It's a romance novel on television.
I've described it more as Scottish porn as I've walked through several times when she's watching a season or whatnot. And I'm like, are you watching porn?
Oh God, there's an English series too called Bridgerton. I think is the same way.
Bridgerton,
Yeah,
right? I haven't seen that. I know Chelsea has.
It's a trashy romance novel on television, which
she watches all that stuff, the stuff from Europe. She loves British stuff, and she watches.
But she might be interested in some of these. Delicatessen's pretty good. The next one he did was, I guess, sort of transformative. It's called City of Lost Children. You've probably seen City of Lost because I used to watch it all the time. It was always on at my old apartment.
I'm thinking of it. Wasn't there a movie?
Yeah,
called City of Lost Children.
Yeah, this is that movie.
Who starred? Was it Brad Pitt? No. George Clooney?
No, God.
Why am I losing it here?
What is his name? Okay, the actor that did the Beauty and the Beast series back in the late 80s, early 90s. Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman
has done a couple of his films. He was in City of Lost Children. It basically takes place around this group in this weird city who are kidnapping children.
There's Dominic Pignon again.
Yeah, Dominic Pignon. He's also in City of Lost Children.
Yeah.
Kidnapping children to basically steal their dreams.
Okay.
It's very childlike. It's not really scary, but there's kind of a mystery going on. City of Lost Children is interesting because some of the set pieces and the filming techniques were copied by a British American production called Dark City. City of Lost Children directly influences Dark City, and Dark City directly influences The Matrix. So a lot of the scenes where they're in The Matrix, they were taken from Dark City. Dark City took that from the City of Lost Children.
Gotcha.
I want to say they may have even been filmed in the same place, but I don't think that's right. But I know they use some of the same set pieces.
Right. There's a new Matrix coming out.
Is there?
Yeah. It's not a reboot. It's a sequel, isn't it?
I hope they use some of the same sort of, movie in a box techniques because Dark City was.
Well, Keanu Reeves is in it. I think, what's her name? Is it Carrie Moss? Carrie Ann Moss?
Carrie Ann Moss.
Trinity. Isn't she in?
She died, so.
Did she? God, it's been so long since I've watched those.
Yeah.
I wasn't as big of a fan of 2 and 3, especially 2. I did not really like 2 at all.
2 was basically a setup for 3.
I know, and I just didn't like 2. But that's the new one. That'll be a movie theater watch for me. Randy and I have to go. Randy and I have seen every Matrix in the movie theater together. So we'll have to go for that. But I really. I hated 2. I'll be honest.
You hated it?
2. I hated 2.
Oh, I didn't hate it.
I wasn't a huge fan of 3.
Yeah, I didn't hate it, but it was. Yeah, I honestly after seeing City of Lost Children and Dark City, Matrix, I liked it, but I didn't think it was nearly as good as Dark City, and it sure is. It's a far cry from City of Lost Children. City of Lost Children is beautiful.
So
I have seen that as a dub. It is okay as a dub. I would rather watch it in French with subtitles.
Sorry, I have to backtrack a minute. I meant to tell you this earlier because I'd really be interested for you to look this up and see your take on it. But, one of the big thing on the internet, I don't know if it's just now or recent or if it's been coming for a while, probably since The Matrix first came out, but people obsessed with glitches in the Matrix, trying to prove that we are just a simulation.
Oh yeah,
of somebody else.
Chloe will run up with a joke. See, proof of glitch in the Matrix.
Right,
all the time.
That's a real big thing to say that. So there is an app that I don't remember how long it's been out, but it got big during COVID. Now I think I read that it's kind of starting to dwindle down.
Yeah,
but it's called Randonauts.
Yeah, I think that's the one that Chloe's been looking at.
Well, yeah, and I'd love for you to cover it.
Okay.
I heard a podcast cover it yesterday.
Okay.
I'd love to hear your take on Random Knots.
Okay.
Because it is an obsession
Yeah.
that people have, and there's been some particularly creepy things on it. I mean, I go the creepy side of things. That's me. But so plug that in somewhere.
Random
'cause
Knots.
I'd love to hear your take on it.
You know what? I will sit down and start discussing it because a lot of these ideas, I start by discussing things with Chloe or Kelsey or Cree, even Lorelai to some extent.
Or I'm sorry, me.
You. Yeah, but it was like, okay, I've got an idea for this. What do you think about it? And they're like, hey, you should look at this. And it sends me down to it's why I went on to do Jean-Pierre Jeunet. It's like, hey, why don't you do that French guy that you love so much? I'm like, oh, yeah.
Is he Frenchy German?
No, he is Frenchy. He actually lives, so he lives in Montmartre, in Paris, across the street from the Les Deux Moulins, which is
nice.
The two windmills, which is where Amélie takes place. He actually lives across the street, or lived across the street.
I wouldn't be able to pronounce that to save my life.
So Les Deux Moulins
nice.
Is called that because it was halfway between the Moulin Rouge, which is at the bottom of the hill.
One of my favorite movies.
Yeah, brilliant. And it's oh my God, the building is breathtaking. But it's been there for like 150 years. And at the very top, there was another windmill that isn't there anymore. It's where the Sacré-Cœur church is now, or cathedral. But yeah, so this little restaurant was called Les Deux Moulins, and it is in the middle of the city of Paris. So that's where Jean-Pierre Jeunet lives, or at least lived. That's where he writes. He looks out, and there's this little cafe or a brasserie across the street from his house, and that's where he centered one of his movies, Amélie, which I will talk about.
Didn't you go to Paris with your folks?
I took my mom.
That's right. Yeah,
I took my mom right before Cree and I got married.
That's what I thought I remembered.
I would like to go back. I want to take Cree. I want to go. Hey, let's go here. She has a strong fish allergy, so we can't go anywhere tropical. But we can go to Paris. They have all kinds of food.
Hey, William, get Sig tickets for Paris for he and his wife. Would you do that? Could you get?
Yes.
On that?
Can we at least get business class? Because I don't like to be all. I got bad knees.
Bougie. Oh, you're thinking of.
Yeah. No, it's my
I
knees.
thought you didn't want to be bougie, but you're talking about your knees.
I'm talking about my knees, yeah. Although flying on one of those 777s, it was fine. Coach is fine. There's plenty of room. But granted, I haven't been on an airplane in probably 20 years.
Yeah, so get on that. Get them tickets. All right,
okay,
thanks.
We on that?
Appreciate you.
Thanks. Best producer around. All right. So City of Lost Children was kind of dark, but honestly, it's brilliant. And, it ends up having a happy ending. And some of his films are kind of childlike, which is why I like them. Very fairy tale oriented. But there's a dark undertone. You should really check out City of Lost Children. If nothing else, than to hear Ron Perlman speak French, because he does it very well. The next movie he makes is Alien Resurrection, which you've seen.
Right.
Which is probably the most derided alien film around. Right? People just don't like it. If you're looking at it from an alien film fan, yeah, I can see that. If you're looking at it from a Jean-Pierre Jeunet fan, it's fine. It's perfect.
Yeah, I didn't particularly like Resurrection. Yeah. To this day, well, and so I've never dived into Prometheus, and
I loved Prometheus.
And what was there, 2 or 3 of those?
I think it's just one. They're supposed to be producing
there's another
second
one.
Did they?
Oh yeah,
they finally produced a second Prometheus.
I'm pretty sure of it.
Okay, now I need to go out and see that then, because I liked Prometheus. I thought it was fine.
I'll certainly have to look it up here in a minute, but I could have sworn that the second one of that came out. But yeah, so Alien Resurrection, to me, because I've only watched the Alien movies, 2 is the best, without a doubt.
Oh yeah. Easily.
It's a phenomenal movie, and
and quotable.
Yes. Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah. It's game over, man. Game over. By the great Bill Paxton, homeboy Bill Paxton. He's a Fort Worth guy. Graduated from Pascal, I think. He was before he passed away. He was doing a big push to get a Fort Worth Film Festival going on, and he did it for a couple of years. I think it's still around. I think it's called the Cowtown Festival. I could be wrong about that, but yeah, that big film festival that was going on, he was kind of influential in getting that off the ground and started, because he is a diehard Fort Worth fan. You know, as kind of, I think we all are. You know, Fort Worth guys, we really love Funky Town.
I guess I'm thinking of Alien Covenant, because Alien Covenant follows. Yeah.
Alien Covenant.
Alien Covenant follows Prometheus.
Okay, yeah. I need to see that. I did not know that.
Yeah. That's sorry, I had to look that up. And then Alien Covenant leads to Alien, which leads into Aliens.
Yeah.
Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, and that's it. So
yeah, like I said, I loved Alien Resurrection, but not because it was an alien movie, because it was Jean-Pierre Jeunet, and you know, he does his thing, and I really enjoy it. And it was in English, which is fine. I actually prefer him in French. I think he sounds a lot better in French. The dude speaks French and English perfectly fine, but you know, French is his home language.
Right.
And I think he tells a better story when he's doing it in French. I like the T.S. Spivet movie. It was fine. I didn't think it was nearly as good as the next movie I'm going to talk about in his series. So the first one was Delicatessen. The second was City of Lost Children. The third one was Alien Resurrection. His fourth movie is the one that just captivated me, captivated my wife, captivated my kids. Have seen it since they were little. Now I may have to fast forward past a scene or two because he is French, so you know they show nudity because that's what they do.
Right.
Although it's real brief and real quick, but it's Amélie.
Okay, I've never seen it, but I'm familiar with that one.
Well, I'm not surprised. I talked about it for 10 years.
That was nominated for an Oscar.
It should have been.
I think it was.
Yeah, it may have won. If it didn't win, I know the one right after that did win for a best foreign film. It won a bunch of awards in France, I know, and I think quite a few in England. It's how the world really came to know Audrey Tautou, the great Audrey Tautou, because she's the central character. She's Amélie, and it's about this young lady, how she basically has this life that's just, you know, she gets up, she goes to work. She likes to stick her hands in bags of beans. She likes to crack open creme brulee, these little things in life that she brings joy. But she basically she gets up, she goes to work, she comes home, she watches movies. She's kind of lonely. It takes place around the death of Princess Diana that really affected her. So she decides to go on a quest to make things better. So she discovers this little box in her apartment that was left there by a little boy who lived there back in the 50s. So she starts investigating these things. That leads her to another investigation. This one woman whose husband had left her and ran off with another woman. The lady has been sad ever since. And she basically ends up making a letter for that guy or from the husband, how he was going to come back to her, but he got killed in a plane crash. So she makes a letter and written basically just like his handwriting, and makes it look old. And hey, this is from they finally were able to deliver this mail because this plane crashed. And it makes her happy. She finds the man who lost all his stuff as a little boy, the box that was his, and it makes him happy, and he gets a better relationship with his children, and she's just basically being a little superhero.
Sorry. Did you not see how much of an asshole Thor is just now?
Oh, yeah.
Because I put my hand out,
he looked
at me, and then kept walking.
Yes. That's not a dog, that's a cat.
Thor is an asshole.
He's a cat.
God. It was nominated for 5 Oscars, by the way.
Oh, Amélie? It should have been.
Best writing, screenplay written directly for the screen, best art direction, set decoration, best cinematography, best sound, and best foreign language film. So didn't win, but nominated for 5.
Oh, what was great about that movie is it takes place all up and down that, Montmartre, which is the artsy part of Paris, but it's all built up this. Well, it's a mountain, hence the name Mont. in the middle of the city of Paris, and it's built all at the side of it. So they've got like these really, really intense stairs all throughout the part of the city with handrails on them because you can fall, slip, and hurt yourself. But yeah, and then people drive around these streets. I can't. No, never, no. I would not drive in that town. I wouldn't even think about driving in that town. Besides, I have public transportation.
I don't really like driving in most of Europe. I mean, because you have to realize that the towns all over Europe, the roads were built after the cities.
Yeah.
So there was no thought of roads for cars.
No.
And I remember.
Yeah, there's a road right outside of Piccadilly Circus that's maybe 10 feet across. And all the buildings there have been there since like the 1300s. Well, yeah, they didn't have cars back then.
Well, I remember going up to Biancovalle in Italy, which is where the Italian Winter Olympic team trains.
Okay.
And we took a bus up to the city of Biancovalle. And boy, that's some.
I bet that was white knuckling it.
Corner roads.
Yeah. On a bus?
Ooh. And it was not big enough for two vehicles. So there were mirrors on every turn, and basically cars that were smaller than the bus needed to get off as much as they could without falling down the mountain because that bus was not stopping for nothing. Just going to whip around.
We're just going.
That was a scary ride.
Yeah,
that was a scary ride.
White knuckling up, and I imagine that town was probably built up that hill too.
Yeah, I mean it's up the mountain. The town of Aviano, where I stayed, that was another one where you have these areas that. If you have a bigger car, it's not going through that little underpass because
it makes sense why those people drive little scooters and stuff,
right?
And tiny little cars because they have to,
right?
You wouldn't want to drive a Lincoln down one of those roads.
Can't drive a Lincoln down those roads.
I'm sorry. Circling back, Amelie, as we do. Amelie was filmed all up and down Montmartre, and it was beautiful. And Audrey Tautou was perfect for that role because she was an adult, she was a beautiful woman, but at the same time, she was also very childlike. I think it's because she has giant brown eyes. And she was in his next movie, A Very Long Engagement, which is the movie I watched last night. And I forgot just how good this movie is. As good as Amelie is, A Very Long Engagement is a little bit better, but it is a little darker. It takes place in 1920 after Armistice and in 1917 in a trench. So, Amelie's, I'm sorry, I keep calling her Amelie because it's Audrey Tautou.
Right.
It's Mathilde. Mathilde, she grew up in Breton with her uncle, played by, again, the great Dominique Pignon.
Okay.
And her aunt, because her parents had died. And she got polio when she was a kid, so she walked with a limp. Well, this little boy she met when she was very young would put her on his back and take her up to the top of the lighthouse because his dad was the lighthouse keeper, so she could see the city. And they were best friends. Most of the kids made fun of Mathilde because she had a limp, except for Minache. And Minache was her companion. And, of course, they fell in love, and he wants to marry her. Well, he gets called up because it's the First World War. And he ends up getting about 5 people have injured themselves to get out of the trench in 1917. And there was a rash of that at the time. So they sent them out into no man's land just to die.
Right.
Of the 5 people, and it's a story of actually what happened and how it went down, because she's actually looking this up because she doesn't think Minache is dead because no one saw him die.
Right.
So the 5 guys, of the 5 people who went out there, well, the 4 people that went out with him, the total of 5, one of them was basically took his pistol to hit a rat with because a rat was gnawing on his foot and accidentally shot himself. The rest of them harmed themselves on purpose, including Minache.
Are you familiar with World War I and trench warfare and no man's land? Okay.
Yeah.
Just to know just the visual from that because World War I was just a horrific war because of trench warfare.
Yeah.
People just died in horrific deaths.
Yeah.
And no man's land, I mean, the area in between that just, you don't go. You get out of that trench, you're going to get picked off.
Yeah.
Horrific war.
These guys survived like a day or so out there. All of them.
That was the average, yeah.
Yeah. And then they had then their line went over the top like 2 days later. And so you find out that some of them did get out. Some of them got away. Mm-hmm. But it's also concerning, like the French politics of the time, because after the First World War, the French government did not want to talk about it because they made a lot of mistakes. Well, the English too. They made a lot of mistakes that they were, they caused the deaths of thousands of people because they didn't know what they were doing. And so that's kind of going on. It's hard for her to find out what happened because there are a lot of people who are like, no, you can't look into this.
Right.
I don't want to give it away, even though this came out in 2004.
I think you're well past the spoiler rule.
Yeah, she eventually does find Minash, but he's the entire episode has changed him in such a way that he doesn't even remember who he is.
She finds him alive.
Yeah, she finds him alive.
Okay.
After she finds his grave. So, but yeah, oh my God, it's brilliant. It's shot in sepia tones. They get the French countryside a lot, and you get to see some trench warfare. So if you want to see a film about trench warfare, A Very Long Engagement is a good one to start.
If you remember back in the episode Hinterkaifeck, the Victoria's husband was said to have died in World War I, and
maybe not.
But then somebody said that Spiel said they saw him later. He had gone to Russia. Yeah, so
yeah. But oh God, it's sweet. It's beautiful. The music's good. It's kind of sad. There's this one lady who's one of the guys that was sent out to be executed by basically just going into no man's land. It was her man. And she was so mad by all the people who did it. She's going around killing these people. She goes around and kills his lieutenant. She goes around and kills the general that sent him.
This is Mathilde?
No, this is not Mathilde.
Oh,
this
I got
this
confused.
is another way. They are running concurrent. They're running concurrent investigations, but every time she finds someone who screwed them over, she does them in, and you find out how they had screwed them over because they actually all got pardoned. You find out later, and the guy, the colonel on the front, takes the paper and uses it to repair a magnifying glass instead of sending the orders on.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, she gets him good, and it's the way she does him is pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so A Very Long Engagement, that's one I would recommend to anybody because it's just a good movie. It's a good story, and it's shot well.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah. The next one he did is probably one you haven't heard of. It's called Micmacs.
No.
This was in 2009. It's about this young guy whose dad got killed when he was young, and he wasn't so much orphaned, but his life just didn't go anywhere. And he's basically, he works in like a pawn shop in Paris, and someone, they're not robbing the pawn shop, they're robbing something else, but a bullet comes in and kind of tinks off his head. It doesn't kill him. But
does it make him a serial killer? Head trauma?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But he finds the bullet and he realizes it's made by the same armament company that made the armament that killed his dad. So he starts an investigation into this, and he gets
Stark Industries.
Stark Industries, yeah. He gets involved with these people who are basically living in a junkyard in the city. They're the Micmacs. They're, again, one of them is Dominique Pignon. He's been in all of these.
Right.
They're sort of weirdos. One of them is a contortionist, and they basically become like a little superhero team, trying to bring about not the downfall of this armaments company, but make them basically speak up for the mistakes that they've made, and that,
Well, and, you keep bringing up Pinchon, and he goes along with this. That's not an uncommon thing for a director, or writer, or producer to have someone that comes along with them everywhere they go.
Yeah.
Sam Raimi, his brother, it will be in every one of his movies.
Ron Howard's the same way.
With
his brother.
I didn't know his brother was in his movies.
Yeah. In every movie that Ron Howard does, his brother is in it. He is usually a background character.
I didn't even know about the brother. I know about Dallas Bryce Howard, his kid.
No,
love her.
Oh, you've seen him, dude. He was in an episode of TOS Star Trek as a little kid. I cannot remember the brother's name.
I'll need to look that up.
Yeah, matter of fact, the two of them just wrote a book recently.
But you'll get George Lucas, John Williams is always going to be there.
Yeah.
Zemeckis had a composer.
Oh
for all of his stuff. Yeah. Same composer. If it's Zemeckis, you're going to see the and I can't remember the composer off the top of my head. That kills me. Quentin Tarantino and Sam Jackson.
Yeah.
That's not an uncommon thing that
Quentin Tarantino will use people over and over again. I like it. David Lynch. David Lynch has the guy that found the body. She's dead, wrapped in plastic. He was the guy in Eraserhead. He used him.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, he was Baron Harkonnen's right-hand man in Dune, although he had bright red hair. But it doesn't look like himself. But yeah, that guy, he was in everything that David Lynch did until that guy died. So. But again, like a background character, Dominique Pignon will play a major character or just a side character. In Macbeth, he's a side character, but he's really interesting. He plays a bum in the T.S. Spivet movie. So yeah, Big Max is great. Again, shot around the other parts of Paris. So it's not as, it's not as Montmartre centric, but it's pretty cool. And it's a great one. It's like a caper flick, but they're superheroes, but they're low powered superheroes. Like one of them is a contortionist. One of them can fix anything, and they pull stuff out of the river and repurpose it, and very, very cool. And then we get on to the last film that he made, the young and prodigious T.S. Spivet, which we spoke about before. This boy actually got, in the film, he gets accepted into by the Smithsonian to deliver an address because he basically makes a perpetual motion machine.
Okay.
To help his mom out. So he doesn't want to tell his parents about it, so he just sets out on his own across the country and meets all these really cool people on the way. And his parents are frantically worried about him. They can't find him, and they're already dealing with the loss of another child. And everything comes to head in Washington, D.C. when his dad shows up to get him and tells him he's proud of him. Because he didn't have a contentious relationship with his dad. They just didn't talk a lot because the guy was real quiet. And then he's talking to his mom later on, and she's looking outside, and he's sitting on a horse with his cowboy hat and his rain slicker on, and it's raining, and he's just looking. And she says, that's what I like best about him. He's so quiet, but there's so much going on in his quietness. And so, but it's more of a family film and a road movie because the kid that goes from like Montana to Washington, D.C.
Right. And
he meets these weird characters along the way. One of them is Dominique Pignon, who is a bum who lives on a train car.
All right.
Jean-Pierre Jeunet is currently working on a new film to be released this year on Netflix called Big Bug. So we should get it in 2021, maybe early 2022. It is going to be in French and subtitled.
That was going to be my question. Okay.
Yeah. But again, he's, The Young and Prodigious T.S. Spivet and Alien Resurrections are the only two movies he's made in English. Everything else is in French, and it's great. But he will put an American actor in and have them speak French in a very long engagement. Jodie Foster's in it. She plays a Polish woman, which is how they get around her French not being as good. Rod Perlman's French is perfect. He uses him he used him in 2 or 3 movies. But yeah, that is basically it for Jean-Pierre Jeunet. Other than, if you haven't seen any of these movies, I would start with A Young and Prodigious T.S. Spivet. if you're not comfortable with reading a movie, but if subtitles don't bother you, I would start with Delicatessen and work my way forward. They're on various apps. Like I watched A Very Long Engagement last night on the Stars app, I think.
It was also nominated for 2 Oscars,
Yes.
Best Achievement in Cinematography and Best Achievement in Art Direction.
Yeah.
Nominated, didn't win.
Yeah. Well, Very Long Engagement?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I understand why. I want you to watch that movie. It's great. I mean,
And that's why I've heard of that one. I mean,
Yeah.
generally, if it's an Oscar movie,
Yeah.
with the exception of last year, generally, if it's an Oscar movie, I know it. Last year was just a odd one that I just didn't hear anything.
Oh my God. And I can't remember the name of the movie. The one about Fred Hampton. It's like Judas and the something.
Yeah, you had mentioned.
Oh my God. I've watched it twice now. Again, watched it twice and still can't remember the name of it. And the one about Ma Rainey was really good with.
I think we've had this exact conversation before in an earlier episode.
Yes, we did, but I couldn't remember the name of the movie.
Just kicking me in the back of the head.
This time I remembered Fred Hampton. Judas and the Black Messiah. Thank you, Will.
Nice. Yeah. Very nice.
That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, so if you're only,
He's smacking his gum again.
If nothing else, watch Amelie and A Very Long Engagement. Just go watch them.
He's smacking his gum again.
Popping gum. We're trying to do a serious. Yeah, we can't get through it. No one can say we're doing a serious endeavor here without laughing. But yeah, that is Jean-Pierre Jeunet.
Great. Interesting. Yeah, I like that. There was some stuff on there that sounded interesting. I was never interested in Amelie, but it at least sounds interesting. The one after that,
A Very Long Engagement. A Very Long Engagement is my favorite movie.
No, not A Very Long. The one was Amelie the one about the looking for her husband that went off?
That is Very Long Engagement.
But that's Very Long Engagement. Okay, that's the one that actually sounds interesting enough that I want to see that.
Oh my God! And the depictions of the First World War are they're amazing. But it's not most of the movie. It's not like the beach scene on Saving Private Ryan. But there's enough in there to really give you the idea. Yeah, I know, but you know what I'm saying. It's not like a war picture,
right?
But it gives you enough flavor to see it.
I guess my favorite war picture would have been a comedy, Blackadder.
Blackadder.
The
Blackadder goes forth.
That season.
Yeah, Blackadder goes forth. Yeah,
That's great.
You will definitely see some of that sort of thing going on in Bingo Klepasel, which was the name of their trench, which means Twilight Lottery, or Lottery of the Twilight.
Yeah, Blackadder was a favorite of mine. Excellent. Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that one.
But yes, definitely watch A Very Long Engagement.
All right.
If you get access to the Stars app, it's on there. Just sit down and watch it.
I think we do.
Yeah. It's like 2 hours. It's not bad.
I don't know how many streaming services I have. Yeah. They're all over the place, So, okay. Then I guess I will get into the murder side.
Murder.
Outstanding. So for this episode, I chose to cover Belle Gunness. And for my sources, I got information off Square Mile of Murder, historichorrors.com, biography.com, some Wikipedia, Murderpedia, LaPorteCountyHistory.org, and sci-fi.com, the sci-fi wire, Triflers Need Not Apply, the story of deadly Belle Gunness.
It's got a sci-fi connection?
Well, Sci-Fi Wire did an article over this. It's fairly interesting. Belle Sorensen Gunness is believed to be America's first female serial killer.
All right. Let me put my seatbelt on.
Yeah, that's where I was like, oh my God, where are the dates? She is before Giggling Granny. So that's why I had to look at that. She became, and it was funny, the names that you gave Nanny Doss.
Yeah, Nanny Doss.
Belle Gunness became to be known as Lady Blackbird, Hell's Belle, and the Black Widow.
Wow.
She was born Brynhild Paulsdat Sorseth in Selbu, Norway on November 11th, 1859. Okay. She was the youngest of 8 children.
1859?
1859.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah, 1859, youngest of 8 children. Her parents ran a farm, but moonlighted as circus performers.
Okay.
And Belle would appear alongside her parents as a tightrope walker.
Okay.
Tightrope walker. So, again, this is one where her early growing up, there's not a whole lot of signs of what changed her.
Yeah.
But we do have an event.
Uh-oh.
In 1877, Belle was pregnant. And what I found was funny, all the websites I went through, there were no details about a husband or a father of the child, just that she was pregnant. I found that very weird.
Okay.
She was attending a barn dance, and a man at the dance kicked Belle so hard in the stomach that she miscarried. I know.
Why?
I know. So the man was from what I read, this was one of those rich boys that felt he could just do whatever he wanted to.
Okay.
So because he was from a rich and upstanding family, he was never charged. And a few months after the miscarriage, he died from stomach problems. So,
oh well,
good for him.
Yeah. Yay him.
However, this is believed to be Belle's first victim.
Arsenic.
Didn't say, just that's what they think. And people who knew Belle at the time said the attack and loss of the child changed her dramatically.
I'll bet.
So this is where we've probably had an event that's changed her.
Yeah.
Her sister, Nellie Larson, immigrated to the U.S. when Belle was very young. And Belle wanted to follow in her sister's footsteps, believing there to be more opportunity in America.
Okay.
Lots of people would do. And Belle worked on a wealthy farm for several years to save up for the trip.
Okay.
In 1881, Belle moved to Chicago to be with her sister, who had moved there in 1870s.
Chi-town. All right.
She Americanized her name to Belle and settled into the established Scandinavian community in Chicago. This was apparently a very large community. In 1884, Belle married Mads Sorensen, who was also a fellow Scandinavian migrant. And it was said they lived a fairly happy life.
Okay.
They had 4 children. Axel, which I didn't know that was a thing outside of Beverly Hills Cop.
Axel.
Carolyn, Myrtle, and Lucy. They eventually fostered and adopted a 5th child named Jenny. Axel and Caroline died from acute colitis around their 2nd birthdays.
Oh.
Both were insured. And insurance money was collected.
Colitis. Yeah, that's stomach. Yeah.
So I put in here, it's worth pointing out that colitis has the same symptoms as poisoning. Nausea, fever, diarrhea, lower abdominal pain, and cramping.
And they were 2? Or before their 2nd birthday?
Before their 2nd birthdays, yep.
Man. Okay.
Yep. After this, Belle and her husband bought a candy store at the intersection of Grand Avenue and Elizabeth Street in Chicago.
Okay.
And the only real drama in their lives were that fires hit both their homes and their businesses.
Huh.
Twice the family home burned to the ground. And in 1897, their candy shop burned to the ground. They were well insured and able to rebuild afterwards.
I'll bet they were.
On June 30th, 1900, Mads died suddenly. Belle had claimed that Mads had a bad headache and she'd given him something for the pain. And when she checked on him later, he had died.
Okay.
2 autopsies were performed. The first said he had been poisoned, but the second one overruled that and said he died of a heart attack.
Okay.
Mads had actually taken out a life insurance policy on himself, which was about to lapse, so he took over a second policy.
Okay.
There was only one day, June 30th, 1900, where both policies would be in effect.
Huh. And that's the day he died.
That is the day he died.
Well, now.
Belle collected on both policies, recovering a total of $5,000, which today is over $150,000.
Okay.
And the way Mads died showed signs and symptoms of poisoning by strychnine. which are the signs of acute colitis.
So 2 of her kids and her husband.
So far.
Belle
met her second husband, Peter Gunness, after this, and she would move, and he would move from Chicago with her. How did I write that? Moved. They left Chicago together.
Okay.
I wrote that very wrong.
Okay.
So Belle collected her insurance money, and they left for rural LaPorte, Indiana.
Okay.
There she bought a farm. And the town was a whole nother area that was popular with Scandinavian migrants.
Okay.
The farm had 6 bedrooms and was once a brothel.
Oh, nice.
Thought I'd just throw that in there. Belle and Peter would marry in 1901, and Peter was a widower. He brought 2 daughters with him. One of the daughters died under suspicious circumstances.
Okay.
One website said it was uncertain causes, and Peter ended up sending the other daughter away to live with relatives. So
okay.
Didn't get a whole lot of information about that. Peter would die 8 months later in early 1902. He was reaching for something on a shelf when he lost his balance and everything came crashing down, including the meat grinder, which would cave in his skull. And while this was ruled as an accident, many commented that the injury looked like it was from a hammer blow.
Oh, wow.
The coroner did notice signs of poisoning and ordered an inquest, but there was no evidence of poisoning. Belle playing the grieving widow complete with tears, but her foster daughter Jenny told a classmate, quote, "My mama killed my papa. She hit him with a meat cleaver and he died. Don't tell a soul."
Oh, wow.
No one paid any attention to this because the classmate did tell people.
Yes. She said this.
There was a life insurance policy on Peter, of course.
Well, yes.
Totaling $4,000 or over $122,000 today.
Wow.
And apparently she was pregnant because less than 6 months later, her son Philip was born.
Okay.
So Bella decided that even though she had received so much money off the insurance policies, it wasn't enough. And she began placing ads in the Lonely Hearts column. That's what I said. It was so funny when you said that I knew my story was coming to exactly that. So I found it hysterical. One ad read, Comely, C-O-M-E-L-Y?
Comely.
Comely.
Yes. Attractive.
Thank you. Comely widow who owns a large farm in one of the finest districts in LaPorte County, Indiana, desires to make the acquaintance of gentlemen equally well provided, with view to joining fortunes. No replies by letter considered unless sender is willing to follow and answer with personal visit. Triflers need not apply.
Triflers need not
which
apply.
Was the title of that sci-fi article. Another read, wanted, a woman who owns a beautifully and valuable located farm in first-class condition, wants a good and reliable man as partner in the same. Some cash is required for which will be furnished first-class security.
Nice.
Found her ads hysterical. While she waited for a suitable man to reply, she was hiring farmhands to work around the farm, and there was a large turnover in help.
Okay.
Most worked only a few months and disappeared, and Belle would tell neighbors that they left for another job or moved along.
Okay.
This was common for farmhands to be transients.
Yeah.
They tended to come and go.
Yeah, I want to say that during harvesting time, even back in the 30s in the farm up in Allen, that they would get people to come in for 2 weeks.
Sure.
And they may never see him again.
Yeah, my uncle. My late uncle ran cotton farms for years and years and years and years, for his whole life, really. I can remember only one time that he wasn't living on a cotton farm. He would get that. He would get hands that would work seasonal. What are you doing? What are you doing, William? I look over and he's halfway on the table. What is wrong with you? There's something odd about him. Oh,
sorry. I'm sorry. That tickled me. Something odd. That's you telling me you think something's odd about him. Have you met us?
Oh, that brought tears to my eyes. Oh, good gosh. I just look over and he's just sideways.
I think he was just trying to crack you up.
Oh, God, you're an idiot.
Or maybe, did you say you had some ear things going on? You're trying to drain your...
Gross.
I think he's just jacking with you.
Gross.
No, he's just jacking with you.
Continuing on.
Yes, sorry.
So I mean, that would happen. They would get seasonal help. People would come and go.
Of course.
The postman did say that Belle was receiving 8 to 10 letters a day from potential suitors.
All right. So she had her pick of the litter.
Over the next 5 years, the farmhouse was like a revolving door. Mm-hmm. Rich men were constantly coming to the farmhouse. Most were never seen again. Belle said they would leave in the middle of the night, and she would cry to neighbors every time one left.
Aww.
Neighbors thought Belle just had bad luck with men.
Yeah.
Are these people that dense?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously? I don't know.
Oh, poor Belle. She's so sweet.
Yeah. All these men just come and go. She just can't get a man.
Yep. Well, and it also is probably a little bit of the, well, why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free kind of thing.
Could be. I thought about that as I wrote through there, that surely people are thinking this.
Especially if they're staying all night.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I think... I don't remember on some of these ones if they were staying for a while and then they left. I don't know. But again, remember, big farmhouse.
Yeah.
So people could just naturally... I mean, you're going to have two sides of the coin. You're going to have people that are going to decide, oh yeah, she's giving it out, she's putting out, and others might think, oh, she's got a 6-bedroom, she's got a ton of room. They're probably just staying. So, plus, depending on how far these people came from away,
they may have to stay.
It's a rural town. There may not be a hotel.
No, and hell, the farm may be an hour by horse from the town too.
Sure. So
if it's a big farm,
but I think you can definitely see both sides.
Yeah.
Belle's adopted daughter Jenny then disappeared.
What?
Belle told people that she sent Jenny to California to finishing school.
Okay.
There was a rumor that one of the farmhands was in love with Jenny, and then suddenly Jenny was gone.
Oh, they ran off together? Okay. Maybe.
You'll see.
Okay.
Jenny comes back.
Does she?
You'll see.
Okay.
In 1907, one of the farmhands, Ray Lamphere, moved into the farmhouse and he worked the land.
Okay.
It was said that Belle was very taken by him, and they were described as on-again, off-again lovers.
Right on.
Here you go, where she's giving it out. Ray was 37 years old and had a very bad reputation for drinking, gambling, and womanizing.
Okay.
Once Belle realized that Ray had no money, though, she invited another man to live with her who replied to her ads.
Oh, wow.
Ray was unhappy with this, and he resented Belle.
I'll bet.
He resented Belle and the other men who she brought to the farm.
Wow.
Later in 1907, she brought in Andrew Helgian, Helgian, Helgelian.
Another Scandinavian dude, I'm assuming.
Swedish, yes. He was a Swedish migrant from South Dakota.
Okay.
And with all of her other suitors, Belle would tell her potential husbands to liquidate their assets, bring all their money with them, and not tell anyone where they were going.
Oh, well, yeah.
Andrew had no suspicions at all and happily left South Dakota for Indiana, bringing all of his money with him.
Boo, boo, boo. Gotta go down here, marry this wonderful woman, and have a life.
Well, okay, this is a much different time, of course, in life, in the world, at any rate.
Yeah, but I mean, that term, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. That predates this period.
Well, how gullible were these men? Bring all your money with you. Don't tell anybody where you're going. And come on for a good time.
Come on for a good time. Well, it was harder to meet people back then,
Well, and so I believe she focused mainly on Scandinavian descent.
Yeah.
Men of Scandinavian descent.
Yeah.
So that could be part of it too.
Yeah.
Is they weren't finding Scandinavian women.
Yeah.
So maybe, but something just would have tripped a red flag. I would think somebody, but apparently they just kept coming.
Yep. Well, surely she can't be killing all these people.
I don't know that anybody thought that at this point.
Yeah, that's true.
They just went away. I think most people thought she was just driving them away.
Yeah.
Or they got what they wanted and hightailed it out of town. So Belle told Ray to move out of the farmhouse a few weeks before Belle and Andrew were to be married.
Okay.
And right before the wedding, Andrew gave Belle $2,000 and then disappeared.
Really?
And then Belle asked Ray to move back in.
Okay.
But he refused.
Yeah.
Probably put a note in there, probably told her to go fuck herself.
Yeah.
But Ray kept hanging around the farm, and he was making a general nuisance of himself, so Belle hired a new farmhand, Joe Maxson.
Okay.
So Joe would tell Belle of all the stuff Ray was doing when he saw Ray around town or heard anything about him. He was basically a little gossip hound.
Yeah.
But Ray began making threats about Belle around the town, and he was eventually arrested for harassment.
Okay.
Belle tried to have Ray declared insane, but was unsuccessful. So Belle then hired a lawyer to make out her will and told the lawyer that Ray was out to get her and feared that he was going to burn her house down.
Okay.
Which was apparently some of the rumors.
Okay.
On April 28th, 1908, just a couple days after making the will, the Gunness farmhouse went up in flames.
Really? He's going to burn my house down. I'm going to go ahead and get some insurance on this. He's going to burn my house down. She burned her house down, did she?
Well, Joe Maxson woke up around dawn to smoke filling his room. He ran across the hallway to wake Belle and the three remaining children, Myrtle, Lucy, and Philip, who still lived on the farm. Belle's door was locked, and he couldn't break it down. The building was going up in flames, so Joe jumped out of a first-floor window, and he was the only survivor of the fire.
Oh, wow.
Once the ashes began to cool, investigators found the bodies of the three children believed to be Myrtle, Lucy, and Philip.
Okay.
And an adult that they believed was Belle.
Okay.
But fingers around town began quickly pointing at Ray.
Okay.
Because of all the rumors and everything. So Ray got arrested, and he confessed to setting the fire, but said that Belle paid him to do it. So that she could fake her own death and escape.
So that person may not have been Belle.
The body assumed to be Belle was decapitated, which made identification much more difficult.
Oh.
However, the body was apparently much, much smaller than Belle. Belle was apparently a thick woman. She was 6 feet tall and weighed 280. She was a hefty woman.
Scandinavian.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
The body found was a smaller woman, but people said the body shrunk because of the fire.
Oh, okay.
The body found was 5'3" and weighed no more than 150 pounds. I know. So from 6 foot down to 5'3", from 280 down to 150?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so. So Andrew, remember he was the last one who disappeared.
Yep.
His brother Asel began to worry because Andrew said he would return in a week or two.
And he'd been gone for months.
Mm-hmm. Asel looked through Andrew's home, and he found letters from Belle telling Andrew he was the man for her, to bring all his money and not tell anyone where he was going. Excuse me, I burped. I'm so sorry.
Did we get that? Okay, good.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I slipped one out earlier, and I think we missed it, so I don't think we got it. That's good. That was awesome. I was proud of that.
So he was told to bring all his money and not tell anyone where he was going or who he was visiting. The letter to Andrew from Belle that would later be found. I wanted to read this. This is a letter Belle wrote to Andrew.
Okay.
To the dearest friend in the world, no woman in the world is happier than I am. I know that you are now to come to me and be my own. I can tell from your letters that you are the man I want. It does not take one long to tell when to like a person, and you I like better than anyone in this world. I know. You I like better than anyone in this world I know. Think how we will enjoy each other's company. You, the sweetest man in the whole world. We will be all alone with each other. Can you conceive of anything nicer? I think of you constantly. When I hear your name mentioned, and this is when one of the dear children speaks of you, or I hear myself humming it with the words of an old love song, it is beautiful music to my ear. My heart beats in wild rapture for you, my Andrew. I love you. Come prepared to stay forever.
Wow.
That gave me shivers on that one. I mean, knowing the rest of it, come prepared to stay forever.
Well, apparently he did.
Yeah. Yeah. So Aesel went to LaPorte to try to track down his brother and Belle. 1 week after the fire is when Aesel arrived at the LaPorte sheriff's office looking for his brother, but nobody had any idea where Andrew had gone. But the remains of the farmhouse was still being searched, so Aesel went to help.
Okay.
Investigators were still looking for the missing head because they still couldn't do a positive ID of the headless body.
They're going to use dental records, I'm assuming.
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
I think a dentist comes into play here later.
That's why they need the head.
You mentioned that. I think a dentist actually comes into play here.
Well, I mean, they didn't have DNA. Hell, DNA didn't get discovered until the 50s, so.
Yeah. The sheriff asked Joe Maxson if there were any pits or holes on the property that had recently been filled, and Joe pointed them towards the pig pen. It had been filled in just days before the fire, and Joe claimed that Belle used it as a compost heap or a trash dump, throwing out rotten fruit or vegetables, coffee grounds, and broken crockery. Uh-huh. That's what she used it for.
Beware of anyone who keeps pigs.
Oh, yeah. No kidding. They'll eat anything.
Yeah, except hair and teeth.
Yeah.
Apparently.
When they investigated the pig pen further, they discovered multiple depressions in the land, which looks like it had been dug. They had been dug out recently. So officers and volunteers began digging, and they began smelling decomposing bodies. On the first day, they found parts of 5 bodies.
Oof.
On the second day, they found body parts of another 6 victims. Quicklime had been scattered all over the bodies to try to speed up the decomposition. Andrew Helgillian had been found, as well as Jenny, the daughter that she sent away to finishing school. I told you she comes back.
Yeah.
Some now believe that Belle killed Jenny out of jealousy of the farmhand she had taken to, while other believes Jenny had raised suspicions to her mother about all the disappearances, so Belle had to silence Jenny.
Okay.
Most of the bodies were never identified, but all had signs of trauma from blunt force blows to the head.
Hey, she's 6'1", 280. I imagine she could probably...
I think 6 feet. But I don't think 6'1", but I mean, close. 6'1" half dozen together.
Yeah, 6 foot, 280, and she worked on a farm most of her life. I imagine she could probably swing a
she was probably pretty beefy, pretty stocky. I imagine she was stocky. The story that soon became a media frenzy, and people from all over the county flocked to LaPorte to see the murder house and the death garden. At one point on one weekend, 20,000 people traveled there.
Wow.
Vendors started popping up selling ice cream, popcorn, cake, and Gunness stew.
Nice.
No idea.
Just named it after her.
Yeah. I mean,
here's this stew. It's called Gunness stew. Here, have some.
The missing head still couldn't be found. Oh, here we go. The missing head still couldn't be found. The local doctor couldn't confirm if the headless body was Belle. Her dentist said if Belle's false teeth were found in the rubble, he would be able to identify them as he made them.
Okay.
So there you go. 2 weeks after the fire, the sheriff sent people back to look for the teeth, and a set of dentures were found, and the dentist confirmed he had made them for Belle.
Okay.
So the coroner finally declared Belle as dead, and Ray Lamphere was indicted for the murder of Belle, her children, and all the bodies found on the property.
Wow. She hung murders on that dude.
Yeah, the prosecutors in the case, they talked about the articles talked about they were in a very, very difficult situation.
Yeah, because they don't think he did it.
Well, they had to admit that Belle was involved in the murders, or as they put it, engaged in the wholesale slaughter of humanity.
Wow.
But they also had to argue that she herself had been murdered. Yeah. So that was a, hard road.
All right. So they found, so 5 bodies and then 6 bodies. So 11 bodies so far, not counting the 3 children. So there's 14 and then whoever she killed to replace her, if it's not her, 15 bodies.
They also had to admit that Belle had done everything she could leading up to the fire to discredit Ray and declare him insane. Mm-hmm. Then the insurance policies on her first husband, Mads, came into question, and of the autopsy's first conclusion of strychnine. Remember, they had 2 autopsies, and one overruled the other. And they also said Belle was obviously a serial killer, a fraud, and a liar, but she herself was murdered, and the body mysteriously shrunk in the fire. Eye roll.
Yeah. We need a sound for that.
I know we do. We need a little trigger sound for my eye roll. Ray would claim his innocence, but eventually was found guilty of starting the fire. Mm-hmm. A chemist claimed to have found strychnine in the bodies of the children, but this is not what killed them. But it cast doubt on Ray's guilt of murder.
Okay.
Ray was acquitted of murder, but sentenced to 21 years in prison for arson.
For arson, yeah. Well, he set the fire. He admitted to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Ray would die a year later after getting tuberculosis.
Oh, no.
Before he died, he confessed to the prison chaplain. He said when a victim arrived at the farm, Belle would sometimes make them comfortable and offer them a large meal. She would sometimes poison their coffee and then split their head open with a meat chopper while they were unable to defend herself.
Wow.
Other times, she would wait until the man was asleep and then chloroform him. She would then carry them down to the basement and dissect them. She would bury the remains in the pig pen and other areas of the farm. And sometimes if she was too tired, she would just chop them up and feed them to the pigs. So we probably have missing people here that are not counted for.
Yeah.
He said he witnessed Andrew's death and demanded hush money for Belle, but she instead fired him and knew ISIL was looking for Andrew, so she knew the game was up.
Yeah.
Ray said she framed Ray and then escaped. And he also said Belle hired a housekeeper days before the fire, and that's who the body with the missing head belonged to.
Yeah. I imagine there was somebody in there that wasn't the person.
Well, he said that Belle drugged the woman, bashed her head in, decapitated the body, and tied weights to the head before throwing it in a swamp.
Okay.
She then dressed the body in her old clothes, removed her false teeth, and placed them by the headless corpse so people would think it was Belle that was died. She then set the house on fire and ran off.
Wow.
Sightings of Belle would be reported for the next 20 years. Many of them were in Chicago, some were in upstate New York, and even in the woods outside of LaPorte. None of these led police to anything at all, and the sightings stopped in 1930, so it's assumed if she did escape, then she died in 1930 when she would have been about 70 to 71 years old.
That makes sense, yeah. Wow, but she had a whole bunch of cash that she took with her. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. The estimated number of her killings were 20 to 40 people, including all 6 of her children. Both her husbands, her stepdaughter, and Andrew Helligan. Some of the men buried on the farm were identified. Those were Ole B. Budsberg, George Berry, Christian Hilkoven, Emil Tell, Thomas Lindboe, Olaf Svenher, I can't pronounce.
Olaf.
Svenheruf, Olaf, Benjamin Carling, and John Moe. There were 4 men who disappeared after traveling to Indiana to marry a rich widow, and these were Olaf Jensen, Bert Chase, T.J. Tiefland, John H. McJunkin, I love that name, and Charles Nieberg. All of these men showed up at Belle's farm trying to impress her and were never heard from or seen again.
Wow.
The headless woman actually was buried in a cemetery next to Mads Sorensen, her husband.
Yeah.
In 2007, with the permission of Belle's descendants, what descendants are left?
Yeah, I think she killed everybody, didn't she?
But apparently there were. The body was exhumed for DNA testing. Unfortunately, the body had decayed too much for a viable sample. So maybe it's time to do this again. We've advanced. So
yes, we have.
Belle's schemes netted her the equivalent in today's money of over $1 million. And following her death, her sister, Nellie Larson, told the Chicago Examiner, "My sister was insane on the subject of money. She never seemed to care for a man for his own self, only for the money or luxury he was able to give her."
Wow.
And that is the story of Belle Gunness.
Belle Gunness. Very interesting. I like how that the Belle Gunness and Nanny Doss had the same kind of MO.
Yeah, I found that I really found that interesting. That the strychnine, the poisoning, the insurance fraud.
Yeah.
This. I guess that was a thing. I guess people heard about it and figured they could get away with it. So you seem to have that the strychnine and the arsenic and
those things were much less regulated like they are today. Too.
Oh, sure.
It was much easier to get that stuff back then than you could right now.
Well, and investigative techniques weren't as advanced as we have today.
Well, like I'm saying, we didn't know about DNA till the 50s, so. And we really didn't truly understand how it worked until, 5-10 years ago?
Maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, I was giggling to myself as you were talking about Nanny Doss because I'm like, man, these stories are very parallel.
Wow.
And she was after, so now you got to wonder.
Did Nanny Doss figure this out
did
by
she
reading
hear
about
this story? Did she read news articles?
Well, you said 20,000 people showed up one day. Yeah,
right.
I guarantee you somebody wrote about it.
Oh, yeah. It was a media frenzy is what they said. So, was it a copycat killing?
Yeah.
It's wild when you go back to that time period and you see similarities or parallels, stuff like that. So hopefully you enjoyed that story.
I did.
I enjoyed.
That was really interesting.
Enjoyed researching it. And again, as much as I enjoy researing murder,
but you can get out of your head now. Yeah.
I enjoy. Yeah, that's another one I can now crumple up and throw away. It's now out of my head. That's it. 11 episodes worth. I can keep out of this jumbled head I've got.
That's right. Yeah, to make room for more.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I've got. So,
I think with that, I have been. No. I forgot to do the website thing.
So you can find us on our website, nerderymurder.com.
Yes, please.
Our contact info is there. You could talk nerdy with Zig, talk murdery with me, or you could talk either one with either one of us. We'll pass it along.
Oh, yeah.
You could talk to Will about why he sits sideways in his chair and gives us funny looks.
I think honestly, I do. I think he was just trying to crack you up.
Hey, speaking of Belle, there's Bella.
Hey, Bella.
There's our dog, Bella. Hi, Bella.
Bella Bear.
On our website, you can also find a link to our Patreon for anybody that wishes to help support us.
Yes, please.
You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But yeah, so with that, until next week.
I have been Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your murdery.
Cue the music.